Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today I'm going over my report on Vegas. Woo! So every year at MagicCon Las Vegas, at least for the past 2 years, and now for the third year this time, I have taken my Diablo creations and brought them down and ran them at a table for anybody that wants to show up. It really hasn't been disappointing to do this. It's been amazing. People show up and they love talking about it. Their experience with Diablo, their experience with D&D, or whatever thoughts they have on game design. I've met one of the designers, somebody that's worked on Diablo 4. I've met people from all over the place who just have a passion for either one or both of the games. And all of you that sat down to play have definitely brought that to the forefront.
Well, it's the end of day one, and I had a very interesting day. So I found out literally the day before MagicCon that I had apparently not bought the tickets. I think I was planning on doing a content creator badge application, and then I missed the entrance and the deadline. So yeah, that was not fun. And then I had planned on doing it, and then I just didn't. So I was freaking out. I might have seen the shorts that I put up talking about it. Thankfully, through a miracle, I guess, I was able to get a ticket at the door. So I was able to get in and talk to people and play games. But I am gonna go home now. It's right around midnight. Or not home, but like with the people that I'm staying with. And yeah, I'll see you on day 2.
Thank you, Sierra and Jade, for helping me get in and get working on, enjoying the con. So, let's jump into that first game. On Friday, the first one that we played was with Jean-Luc, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who played the assassin, and Jacob as a necromancer. They chose to play the Den of Evil, the level 1 adventure, and they started off by creeping into the cave, looking around, and taking a path kind of at an oblique angle, and came across a scout, and they managed to, in one round, curse it, and then the assassin ran up and stabbed it, and it died. And they kind of go quiet, looking for, wondering if there was any noise that might have alerted anybody. Nothing seemed to be happening, so they continued. They kept creeping around the cave, and eventually came across a woman tied to a stake. She was nearly dead, and they, being a necromancer and an assassin, debated about whether they should recruit her to their cause. They ended up cutting her down, giving her a healing potion, and giving her the shield and scimitar that the fallen that they'd killed, the scout, that creature had. And she went back to the beginning of the cave and sat and waited for them to finish. Unfortunately, as this was going on, there were a few fallen that came around a corner and spotted them. So we jumped into combat, and the assassin ran up, saw that there was a conga line of fallen, and that conga line could not land a hit on the assassin at all. The assassin was able to cut through them pretty easily. Amplify damage did some work, but most of the damage was dealt by the assassin. Unfortunately, the necromancer, other than amplify damage, wasn't able to contribute all that much. They kept using chill touch, and this hand would show up and attempt to grab them or claw at them, and it just kept missing and missing and missing. But there was a lot of slashing, and those fallen fell like dominoes. Unfortunately, dominoes don't usually set themselves back up, unlike the fallen shaman that managed to survive a couple of rounds somehow. It managed to get, I think, three fallen back on their feet and keep that battle going on a little longer than they had hoped. But thankfully, the necromancer's Ray of Sickness did actually do some serious damage, nailing it right through the pack of fighting that's going on, and nearly killed the shaman. But in an awesome display of acrobatics and blade mastery, the assassin managed to kill the shaman and the remaining fallen in one turn with a beautiful swipe stab combo, and ended the encounter. And both of them ended up with not a single scratch on them. It was honestly impressive. I mean, the necromancer hung back and did some long-range stuff, but the assassin just kept getting missed. It was really, really impressive. So Jean-Luc and Jacob, thank you very much for the time that you spent here playing, and I hope you continue to enjoy what I've created. So those two headed out, and the next group that I ran with was quite a sizable group. There was Tyler, who was playing a sorcerer, Dom, who's playing a necromancer, Michael as an Amazon, Dee Dee as a druid, Chef as an assassin, and Ashlyn would have played but eventually decided against it. But thank you very much for at least considering sitting down. I was glad to see that you were at least somewhat interested. They chose to do the boss encounter, Sisters to the Slaughter. So they come creeping down the stairs into Andariel's lair and open a door, see all the macabre decorations, the bloody bodies that are draining into the pool in the center. And they open the door very slowly into Andariel's main chamber. They see her sitting on her throne with a misshapen by her side. And they say, you know what? Let's send in the summons. So the druid got their bear and sent it in, and the necromancer sent in the clay golem. And I kind of pointed out that, you see that spot over there? If a door opened and someone walked through, you're going to notice. So Andariel pushed her misshapen forward, and combat started. Oh boy, that misshapen ended very, very quickly. I think it managed to roll the lowest. Yeah, it rolled the lowest in initiative, so everybody got a turn before it did. And the Amazon managed to snipe it, hit it right between the eyes, and then the sorcerer dropped a fireball right at the end of the throne room, which hit both Andariel and the Misshapen. Misshapen went up in flames, and Dariel also went up in flames, and booked it down the pathway to the heroes. The assassin was kind of clever and decided to take a more oblique angle, kind of flanking maneuver by running in, going off to one side, and looping around. The necromancer, seeing that there was some melee combat going on with Andariel, thought, you know what, she's using strength. I bet Ray of Enfeeblement would be a great idea. Unfortunately, Andariel has advantage on magical effects, spells, magical effects. So she managed to succeed on that saving throw and kept wailing away with her claws. But that assassin managed to sneak up right behind her and start dealing some serious damage. I think he managed to get on one or two solid hits, and the Amazon did as well. The Amazon found out that Sharpshooter is a very good ability, especially when you have advantage, and managed to nail Andariel with some seriously damaging effects, or shots. Unfortunately, Andariel realized that, hey, look, there's a bunch of people in this nice little 30-foot cone that I have, and sprayed her poison spray. She got the bear, and I believe the sorcerer and the Amazon, I think. I can't remember. But there was, I think it was the druid that was just a little bit too far back. I think he was 5 feet. Yeah, like 5 feet outside the range. So there's this massive boiling cloud of poison that rushes towards him and then just dissipates in front of his face. So that was unfortunate. I wish I was able to get that just a little bit further, but yeah, c'est la vie. Now, at this time, there is a handful of creatures and people around Andariel. So Fireball wasn't going to be as effective because it could hit quite a few people in that area. But thankfully, Andariel is really tall, and the sorcerer dropped a fireball that covered the top half of her body and dealt some serious damage. Unfortunately, the druid's raven died in the attack, but trade-off. What it's like? Would you rather have 48 damage on the boss and a dead raven, or no damage on the boss and a raven? Like, easy trade there. But that's when the sorcerer was like, you know what? We need to deal some fire damage. We need to start pulling out those fire effects. And the assassin realized, oh wait, I've got fire effects. I've got this grenade that deals fire damage. So with a really amazing acrobatics check, he runs up Andariel's back and plants a grenade on her body, backflips off, nails the landing, and the grenade goes off. Boom! 3d6 fire damage, doubled because she's got vulnerability. Really, really good damage. Now, you've only got 3 for the assassin, but that's still pretty darn good. Unfortunately, at this time, Dee Dee had to leave. Don't remember exactly the reason why, but thank you, Dee Dee, for playing. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you at a later convention. Now, the Necromancer, at this point, wanted to get in on the action and walked up with the great idea of using Vampiric Touch, which is honestly a really cool idea. Vampiric Touch is one of my favorite spells. You can touch an enemy and deal some necrotic damage. I think at 3rd level, it's a 3d6. I think it's 3d6 damage, and then heals you for half the damage. So if you've got a fairly tanky character, it's just damage and healing. It's so good. If you've got a squishy character like the Necromancer, it keeps you alive a little bit longer. Unfortunately, yeah. And Dariel did not, quote-unquote, catch these hands. So, yeah. Good use of a spell. The assassin, on his turn, jumped back in the action with yet another super cool acrobatics trick by sliding under her, tossing that grenade up, and blowing it in her face. Another 3d6 fire damage. Unfortunately, the Necromancer continued his stretch of missing the Vampiric Touch. And I think by the end of it, managed to deal exactly 0 damage with Vampiric Touch. So I'm so sorry. I like seeing it in play, but that was just painful to see. However, the Golem did something. It managed to sneak up, well, not sneak up, it was right in front of her, but it managed to walk up to Andariel and hit her with a natural 20. It was awesome. Or it would be if the dang Golem used dice. So I on crits, I have people roll their die, and double whatever's on the die. But because the golem is basically an unarmed strike, it just is 1 plus its strength modifier, which is 2 plus 2. So it deals 3 damage. But I was like, you know what? I'll let you have it. It deals 4 damage. So, yeah, Andariel managed to succeed on the saving throw, but 4 damage is 4 damage. So let's get that damage in. Now, at this point, Andariel was looking absolutely horrible. I mean, she always does, but she looks, beaten, bloodied, bruised, cut up, burned. She is fried to crisp. Her skin's cracked in places and blistering. And then she rolls a nat 1. I think she was going after the Necromancer. And rolls a natural 1. At that point, this session had dragged on for a little bit longer, and she was basically almost dead. So I gave it up to the Necromancer to decide how she died. And so she swings at the Necromancer and slips, and then grabs the assassin's bombs in her claws and hits a burning pillar above her head that falls on her and ignites the bombs, which explode and kill her. Like in this Rube Goldberg machine of just death and fire. It was a great end of the campaign, or to the session. And thank you, all of you, for your contributions to this. And I really hope that you enjoyed what I'd made and enjoy what I will make in the future. So thank you again very much. Now, that was it for Friday. And I went out and played some games of Commander and talked with a bunch of new people, promoted myself, of course. And hi, all the people that decided to stop by and take a look at my channel.
Well, it's end of day 2, and only got 2 games in with Diablo, or D&D, but they were fun. I'm really happy that I got to do this. I really enjoyed doing this stuff. This is stuff that I get to do so very rarely. I mean, yeah, I've got my own table, but being able to sit down and have people like ooh and ah over what I've done, such a great feeling. Thank you, of course, to everyone who did stop by and talk and play as well. But I'm gonna head home, get some sleep. It's midnight.
Now, as the week is wont to do, Saturday rolls around, and I spent about an hour talking with people, and about 11 o'clock, I finally get a group together, and this one is a fairly sizable group. We had Fire as a sorcerer, Stephen as a warlock, Marco as a paladin, and Christopher as a barbarian, and we had so much fun. There was hair being dramatically blown in the wind of a passing arrow. There was pompadours getting cut in half, and goatmen finding said pompadour by the smell of their hair gel, and a lot of references to hair. I don't exactly know why, but it was a lot of fun. So they started out doing the level 3 encounter, the rescuing Deckard Cain. We managed to actually get, across the 2 days, all 3 levels of play. That was pretty darn good. So as they come walking up, they're debating how to enter into this cathedral. The barbarian says, excellent, let's get in. There's no handles. How do we get in? And we joked about you just grabbing handfuls of the door and ripping it off, trying to pull the door. And the sorcerer's like, oh, come on, guys, You can just push it. So they push the doors open, and right in front of them, well, at the end of the hall, there is 2 skeletons guarding a door, a couple more skeletons walking around, and of course the Fabio Barbarian goes rushing in, for the ancestors, and the Warlock follows in at his heels. The Paladin rushes down the other side of the hallway with the Sorcerer right behind him. So the party rush in, trying to close the gap on the skeletons, and they're just taking pot shots. The skeletons are just taking pot shots right down this lane between the pillars, and a couple people take a few hits, but these guys catch right up and start having a contest of who's going to kill the most people. One of the skeletons goes down in a single hit. The Barbarian manages to miss with his javelins. The Sorcerer manages to snag another skeleton, and the skeletons, now in melee with the Barbarian, start swinging and completely miss. Unfortunately, one of the skeletons manages to nail a solid hit on the Sorcerer, but the Warlock manages to slip in between 2 of the skeletons and roll for cleave, which is a damaging area of effect right around their person. One of the skeletons goes down, or one of the skeletons manages to succeed at saving throw, the other one fails and takes a significant hit, and the Barb comes rushing in and just hammers this thing into the ground. The thing had 2 HP. 2 HP. And the Barbarian is wielding a maul. That is 2d6 plus its strength, which is a 3, so you're dealing a minimum of 10 damage to skeletons who only have 13 hit points. So these skeletons go down very, very quickly. There was a really funny event, or a really funny moment where the Sorcerer is like, you know what? I can see one of the skeletons that's bothering the duo over there that's trying to get trying to compete with their kills, and the Sorcerer tosses out a firebolt right between some pillars and nails the skeleton, nearly kills it, but then ducks back behind the pillar, so neither of the guys knew what was going on with this firebolt coming out of nowhere. That skeleton that got hit with Firebolt manages to land a solid blow on the Warlock, who just blows it to pieces with a Hellish Rebuke. Gets this Hellish Rebuke right in its face, blows up, boom, gone. Not to be outdone, the Paladin manages to do some serious damage by casting Divine Favor, which adds an additional d4 radiant damage to all of your weapon attacks, and slams into a skeleton using Sacrifice and just nailing it to the floor in a single hit. So everybody at this point has done some serious damage. At this point, there's one skeleton left. And the Barbarian comes rushing in, trying to... I mean, this thing is cornered. It's not going anywhere. The Barbarian comes rushing in and just slams his mace into the wall, or his warhammer into the wall, trying to get a solid swing in, and just boom. I think he rolled a 4, so it's not technically like a nat 1, but still, it's just this funny image of this massive, well, moderately big guy coming in and just whiffing completely. But that skeleton quickly goes down, and they take a moment to rest and recuperate, drink a few health potions, manage to find one of the health potions that I had stashed away, or the health potion that I had stashed away for people to find. They found a longbow as they were looking through, trying to see if there was any evidence of what had happened here, if anybody had come through or passed by. And the Warlock manages to get a 19 plus modifiers, I think it was like a 21, something like that, and finds that there had been a big metal object that had been pushed up against these doors at the end of the cathedral hall and hears people past these doors. So the barbarian, now wanting to impress people with his ability to open doors, he's learned since the last time they opened the door that doors can open inward. So he Aragorns these doors open, and they see Griswold right there, dangling a key in front of Deckard Cain, who's dangling up above him, trapped in this cage, and 2 goatmen off to one side, ready to get in on combat. The warlock says, "You guys take care of Deckard Cain, I'll take care of the goatmen," and casts darkness. Now, darkness is on the spell list because the warlock also has the ability to see in magical darkness with Devil's Sight that I've moved over from the D&D warlock. So he goes and messes about with the goatmen as everybody attempts to get Deckard Cain unlocked. Griswold, this massive zombie, takes one look at everybody. He's like, you're not coming into my place and taking my prisoner. So he starts charging around the altar. But thankfully, the sorcerer is like, you know what, let's see if I can distract him with dancing lights. So dancing lights creates this magical personage of light that you can move around. And Griswold, being stupid, sees this figure headed towards Deckard Cain and says, "No, you're not going after my prisoner," and tries to tackle it, and then finds out, oh, it's not actually there. Now, the thing about dancing lights is that nearly did not work. I had the sorcerer roll an Arcana check to see how well that distraction might work, and they rolled a natural 1. And I said, you know what? I'll give it to you. Go ahead and roll with advantage because I like this idea. And they rolled a natural 20. It was awesome. So that advantage coming in clutch, managing to distract Griswold for at least 1 turn, was awesome. Now, the thing about this rescue mission is that it is, in fact, a rescue mission. And that means that they needed to get the key off of Griswold. And the sorcerer, who I must say was phenomenal at coming up with great ideas, threw a bottle of ink in Griswold's eyes and managed to blind him for that 1 turn. Not to be outdone with brilliant ideas, the paladin jumps up on the altar and runs forward, but just can't reach Griswold with his polearm. So he pulls back the mace and hucks it at Griswold and manages to hit. I mean, it was 15 feet and you managed it with a mace. That is impressive. With Griswold being blind, the barbarian is able to nail a solid hit on him, but Griswold, being big, strong, and having a fairly decent attack modifier, is able to land a solid blow on the barbarian, who fails his saving throw. Griswold has an ability, Cursed. Anytime he hits somebody, they make a saving throw, and if they fail, they take 2 additional damage, 2 additional bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage. It's amplified damage on a monster instead of being a curse that the necromancer has. The sorcerer, on their turn, manages to snag that key from around Griswold's neck. I mean, he's blind, so yeah, pretty easy. Stealing candy from a baby and all that. However, with another brilliant idea, and I had really, really hoped that this would have worked, so I'm not trashing this idea, but with a brilliant idea, the sorcerer decides to climb Griswold and attempt to unlock the door to the cage. And 1 failed acrobatics check later, boom, prone at the feet of Griswold. However, they throw the key to the paladin, who, in a brilliant maneuver, rushes forward to jump, land on Griswold, and unlock the door, misjudges the distance and slips off the altar and face plants in front of Griswold. So we have two characters who are prone, literally dropping like flies. At this point, Griswold is having none of that. He's going to leave the other two people alone, but he's going after this barbarian who's been wailing on him and rolls a natural 20. It was seriously bad, and the barbarian nearly got knocked down. At this point, people are looking in pretty bad shape. See barbarian, and the sorcerer is like, you know what, we've got an idea. Hey warlock, come catch this guy. So the warlock is in the corner fighting these goat men and doing a pretty bang up job. They are, in this middle of this bubble of darkness and managed to take down one of the one of the goat men and kind of lure the other one away. And at this point, the warlock's like, what are you planning? Sorcerer says, trust me, bro. It's going to be great. The warlock says, okay, I'm putting my life in your hands. So here comes running in and drops darkness so that everybody can see. The sorcerer has a cantrip, Acid Splash, and tries to use it to melt the bottom of the cage to drop Deckard Cain onto the warlock. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work as intended. They deal some damage to the cage, but it's not like enough to melt the bottom of the cage. It was at this point that I pointed out that there is a person in the cage, and that this person has both arms and autonomy, and that they could just give the key to Deckard Cain, and Deckard Cain can unlock himself. And there were groans around the table and face palms, and everybody's just like, oh, why did we think of that? Whoa. And then I think at this point people realized, oh wait, you can also give him the Scroll of Town portal, and he can open it himself. I had to point out that, yes, technically, but also the Scroll of Town portal would open the portal on the other side of the cage. How's Deckard Cain going to get in there? And then goes like, oh, yeah, okay, well, let's try something different. So the paladin throws the key. Deckard Cain fumbles the key, and it manages to stay inside the cage with not a good roll, but enough that it's, staying inside the cage. However, Griswold, seeing that people are getting ready to free his prisoner, goes absolutely nuts. He takes down the barbarian, and the goat man takes down the warlock. Now, goat men are, shall we say, carnivorous. So it's like, ooh, free food. So it grabs the warlock and drags him back away from the pack of people and definitely away from safety. At this point, Deckard Cain has unlocked the cage and with a pretty decent roll jumps down to the paladin, who puts him on the other side of Griswold so that he doesn't get damaged. The sorcerer manages to shove a healing potion down the mouth of the barbarian, who stands up and gets ready to run at the moment's notice. The paladin opens the town portal and rushes to the warlock to administer aid. The barbarian rushes through the portal to get to safety, 6 hit points. Deckard Cain exits to safety, because the objective. Griswold, furious, absolutely furious that his prey is getting away, rushes through the portal. Put a pin on that. And unfortunately, the warlock fails his last saving throw and dies a hero's death. The sorcerer, with a Parthian shot, snaps off a chromatic orb and ducks through the portal. The goat man, seeing that its dinner is being threatened, takes a swing at the paladin, who, not to be outdone, cracks back with a natural 20, killing the goat man, grabbing the warlock's body, and then ducking through the portal right as it closes. On the other side of this portal is absolute mayhem. The heroes, of course, are coming through, but there is a massive zombie, and this is an armed camp. Griswold stands no chance. The moment he steps through that portal, he is dogpiled by armed rogues as they come rushing in, stabbing, slashing, shooting him with arrows, and he is gone in a second and a half. And that is the end of the one shot. So thank you very much, Fire, Steven, Marco, and Christopher, for spending the time, having a lot of fun, making jokes about hair, role-playing, getting into the characters, and really livening up the table. I really appreciate it. I've never had somebody like super get into character. Well, there was one or two people last convention, but most people just kind of play the character as a character rather than a bit. But you guys took this seriously. You made it D&D. You made it fun. And I am so glad you guys stopped by. This session took it took about 3 hours, in part because there was a lot of note-taking on my end and role-playing on everybody else's. But it was 3 hours really well spent. Thank you again so much. And I hope to see you guys at another convention next year. Now, that was the end of that session. It was about 2 o'clock at this time, and I had a conversation before I finished packing up with Tech. I can't remember what the guy's name is. Tech something or other. He's a deck tech content creator, advisor kind of person. He was going around doing like a 10-minute deck tech, offering advice. We sat down and talked about some of the decks that I'd built and some of the cuts we'd make or things we'd change about it, and it was a ton of fun. After that, I headed straight over to the command zone and got into game with Saffron Olive. I'm so happy about this. I managed to snag him and sat down with a mono black Dan list. We snagged 2 other people and sat down for a game. And it took a little while. This was the first time I'd really sat down with a 4-player for this deck. If you're not familiar with Dan, it is a 100-card deck. It has the original list is called Forgetful Fish, and it has 10 Dan and a bunch of spells and lands and things that do stuff. It's a mono blue list. I think it's blue with a little bit of red for like flashback, but it's a mostly mono blue list where you hit somebody 5 times with Dandan as a 4/1. But it's 100 cards, shared deck, shared graveyard, and it is a ton of fun. Once I saw this, I was like, you know what? I bet you could do a deck list with different creatures. Like, what if you did, like Rat Colony or like Relentless Rats or something else? Like, what about a Ginger Brute list or some of these other creatures that might be fun? And then I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? There's a creature that I've been wanting to play ever since it came out from Avacyn Restored. Treacherous Pit Dweller. It's a 4/3 for 2 mana, black. And it has Undying, which means it comes back with a +1/+1 counter. Unfortunately, when it comes back from the graveyard, you give it to an opponent. And I thought, you know what? Let's make this a feature, not a bug. And I built a Dan list around it. 10 of these Treacherous Pit Dwellers, a few like mill cards to get them into the graveyard, a bunch of cards that get things back from the graveyard to your hand, because you can't put it onto the battlefield because it's going to give itself to your opponent. And I sat down with this list with Saffron Olive and 2 other people and tested it out in a proper setting. And I realized it doesn't quite work as well as I had hoped in a multiplayer, because eventually the game stalls because the cards don't really die. They just kind of get shuffled around. specifically because of Endless Whispers, which brings things back from the graveyard. And so, yeah, they're just bouncing around the battlefield and just it's not really a lot of fun because you eventually reach a stalemate. So I'm going to be tweaking the list, but it's a learning experience, right? But we all had fun, and I managed to get in part of one game before the end, and somehow earned the nickname, what was it? Party God? Yeah, Party God. I was playing my mono blue Everyone Draws Kami the Crescent Moon deck, and one of the players was like, "Yep, this guy is the Party God. Everybody's having fun." He's a Vegas local and a content creator. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember what the guy's name is. I'm so sorry, but he had some people come up and talk to him. So apparently well known. But at that point, we were getting kicked out of the hall. So I packed up real quick. Realized that Dragon Shield still had those playmats that they put out every year for people to take home at the end of the convention. So I rushed over to the Dragon Shield area and realized that everything was gone. So I wandered around looking for a playmat, the one specific playmat that I wanted, and managed to find someone who was gracious enough to let me have it. So I don't know at the time of recording. I don't remember your name, but you are Mana and Mayhem is the name that you gave me. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate this. I love this playmat, and I will treasure it forever and think of you every time I play with it. After that, it was a decent drive home. Nothing crazy happened. Made it home safely. Talked to my brother. Went back to my house and, sat down to record. So thank you very much, everybody that I talked to and interacted with in this convention. I had a ton of fun. Y'all brightened my day so very, very much. And just seeing the passion surrounding Diablo, surrounding D&D, surrounding Magic the Gathering, surrounding all of these games, and coming together and having community, that's what it's all about. That's just what it's all about. Before I close out, one final story. So on Friday, I was in the middle of a game. I can't remember which game it was, but I was in the middle of a game when one of the MagicCon staff comes walking over and says, "Excuse me, are you like selling something? Are you selling like a DMing service? Are you running games? What's going on?" I said, "Oh, no. I'm just doing this for the love of the game. I'm just running D&D for people. This is some homebrew stuff that I had. I'm not selling anything. Don't even have a Patreon." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Just making sure, because it looked like you had a booth going on and can't have that. But I really like what you're doing. It's pretty cool." So shout out to Eric. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a good day as well. So I'm going to close it out there. Thank you all for listening. And I will talk to you later. You can contact me at XenosFan2, that is XENOZFAN2 on Blue Sky and Reddit. And you can contact the channel directly at Diablo TODND on Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.